So after World War One, where Germany were set to make reparations for the causes and the damages of the whole thing, which they felt they were betrayed by the United Nations. Hitler invaded Poland in 1939. Hitler was very strategic. He was very strategic. He was a strategic military man, but not that he had the whole idea. He had top military generals, and he had a chief propagandist, uh, Adolf Hess. Yes, he was the deputy Führer. Deputy Führer. The Führer simply means the chancellor and the president combined. So he dissolved the parliament. The Hitler was the chancellor at the same time. He was the president and had absolute power, totalitarianism. He was a full-time dictator. So at the end of the day, he had a dream to conquer all of Europe, which he did. France, Belgium, Yugoslavia, and the rest of them were conquered. Belgium, the rest of them were conquered. So in 1941, 42, 43, 44 to 45, something very strategic happened. Ordinarily, the United States were not part of the war, not until 1942, where Japan attacked, or yes, they attacked. I think they attacked the U.S. Pearl Harbor. You understand? So, what happened was this: Americans were sending messages to Japan that they should not invade China, because at that time China was just coming from the scratch after fighting civil wars and all of that. Japanese wanted to expand in all of Asia, expand their territories. It was about territorial expansion. You understand? So there were meetings upon meetings, diplomatic meetings upon meetings, and the US said Japanese should not invade the China. But then they never agreed. But they felt they wanted to strike a blow or hit on the US. That hitting on the US would step back or would draw back from the diplomatic solutions between China and the Japanese. So at the end of the day, on a very fateful day in 1942, 1943, the Japanese at that time, their air defense were top notch. They were so good. They came and they dropped bombs in U.S. Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. More than 2,000 people died. U.S. were not happy about it. Despite the whole thing, they called for meetings upon meetings. Nothing happened. Japanese felt they were just bluffing, that the United States will not attack, not knowing that the United States were already building a nuclear atomic bomb secretly by Robert Oppenheimer. He was the chief scientist of that particular project. It was a classified project. So they were building a nuclear atomic bomb in a secret high school, an empty secret high school, a nuclear atomic bomb. Nobody knew. Even even when Joseph Stalin of Soviet Russia heard the news, because he had spies all over the world. Because at that time, in all of Europe, they never believed that the United States would have that kind of energy, that kind of power. So at the end of the day, in 1944, 42 to 44, on a very cool afternoon, the US came. Ordinarily, they have attacked the capital of Japan, which is Tokyo. That several attack by the US. So they felt the Emperor Ijokito, one name like that, Ijokito, something like that, that he was a man of peace, but he had generals who were stubborn. They were five, including the emperor. So at the end of the day, a cool afternoon. Nobody expected it. Nagasaki, Hiroshima, things were just going quietly. A town that had civilians, a populated area. It was in two waves. I think they used the B-23 bombers at that time. They dropped the bomb. It was devastating. It was destructive, catastrophic. People died. Thousands of people died. and the world felt that energy that the United States were the very first people on earth to use a nuclear bomb during the Civil War. So after that, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler was not having issues with Joseph Stalin, but from the beginning they were close friends. And Joseph Stalin is a man that had trust issues. He's a man that he never wanted. He's not interested in you trying to secure his trust or trying to buy his trust. He's not interested in that. All he's interested in is you getting things done. That's one thing about Joseph Stalin of Soviet Russia. He was the president of Soviet Russia. A man born in Russia. I can't remember the time now. I think it should be in the year 1878. Yes, he was born in 78 in Russia. He was in charge of the Communist Party. He had an ideology to revolutionize Russia and all of that. But he was a man, he was a dangerous man. He was a dictator. He killed a lot of generals. I think he killed his own son when his son was caught by the German soldiers. He said they should kill him. He never negotiated. So he killed almost all the generals, but a particular man. This man was somebody that never had interest in uh, trying to prove his trust to Joseph Stalin. He was the person that educated and guided Joseph Stalin in defeating Nazi Germany. That's Adolf Hitler. And one of the problems of Adolf Hitler is this person that never listened to his generals. He never backed down. Know when to back down. He will tell you, go, go. And despite the fact that there are losses, there are casualties, he would not step down. These were the problems of Adolf Hitler. He never listened to his generals. Even when some of the generals were trying to plan a coup to kill him, at the end of the day, they were caught and they were killed in his own top cabinet. So despite this whole thing, the problems of Adolf Hitler was this: he never listened. He never listened to his generals. That was the problem. He had his whole ideology going to make the world feel that Germans were not babies, that Germans were great, the race of Germans were great and superior. So at the end of the day, this whole thing came down crashing on him. And the Allies were now together. The United States were not part of the whole thing, they were not part of the war. Operation Barbarossa in the year 1942 was a major setback, was a major blow to Adolf Hitler. And one thing about Russia, the geographical mapping and the cold winter, Adolf Hitler failed to learn from history. When you fail to learn from history, it will be a major problem to you. I could remember during this particular year when the Napoleons tried to invade Russia. It was unbearable. The whole of Russia, they came and planned and developed a system of, how will I say, they created this ideology where since you are coming to invade us, we would empty the whole of the country. They came and they said, we are these people, we are these people, we are these people. And the problem is this: winter, when there is winter, the problem of Russia is the cold weather. The cold weather, cold alone will kill you. It creates this frost. There is what we call frost, cold, when you have this frosty and cold. So Napoleons were unable to conquer or invade Russia, and they left. And Hitler failed to learn from history. That's the problem. So when it came down, same thing happened. The whole of the SS Panzer, the war machines, were stuck in cold winter. Operation Barbarossa failed, and Operation Stalingrad in 1944 failed, and Soviet Russia defeated the Great Germans based on allies. And Adolf Hitler wanted to fight on two fronts. That was the project problem. He wanted to invade UK. I wanted to invade Soviet Russia. And when it comes to war, allies matters a lot. That is why in this African Democratic Congress, alliance matters a lot. You can't be standing alone. You stand alone, you stand alone, and you stand for. A man without friends is a man without power. That's the problem. It is a major problem. It is a major problem. An ideology that has come to stay with a multitude of crowd cannot be defeated. It cannot be defeated. So Adolf Hitler created an ideology with his deputy Führer, who is the chief propagandist. He knows how to explain how to sell a propaganda, and they sold out Adolf Hitler as a demigod. At the end of the day, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his bunker in Berlin. In Berlin, it was so tough. It was so tough. So Joseph Stalin was a interesting man. The end of the 1953, he died. He died of stroke. Why some said he was poisoned, but his whole ideology and his whole life was, in a way, destroyed. But he was a dictator. When his successor came in, they started rewriting histories, all the history books. They rewrited all everything. Everything was rewriting. Everything was writing. So that was one thing about military warfare. So, God.